For listening to The Pump Fake.
And welcome into the latest edition of the Pump Fake, everybody. We are presented by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Going into week 5 of the NFL season, it's already begun. We're going to recap 49ers, Rams, and then get you set for the Sunday slate. And by God, it's JP Acosta's music. It's good to see you, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to have my own theme music. I think that really helps set the tone for the day.
Yeah. Oh, as always. Yes. It's always good to see you. JP Acosta, CBS Sports. Good to see you, my friend. Let's start off with last night's Thursday night football game. 49ers, Rams. Yeah, in a game where the 49ers injury report, it would have probably been easier to say who was playing rather than who wasn't. And this matchup between Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, it seems to always come down to the wire. It's always a hard-fought game no matter who's playing. The biggest conversation, though, obviously, is the overtime call by Sean McVay, 4th and 1 inside the red zone. Matthew Stafford is absolutely dealing, almost 400 yards passing. They decide to run it with Kyren Williams. The 49ers and Robert Saleh seem to guess correctly on the run. They stuff it out. Game's over. And you and I are gonna differ here, but this leads into my point. Running the ball is for the weak. Throw the damn ball. The Rams running backs on the night too. Like Kyren Williams fumbled late in the game. Blake Corum couldn't hold on to the ball. The special teams continues to be a problem. If not for some bad special teams and holding on to the football, this team's 5-0. So what are your overall thoughts on the Rams, but also the 49ers, who got a tremendous performance from Mac Jones, and, you know, with a long injury report, they are now 4-1 sitting atop the NFC West.
So this is always a game that the Rams, if the pass rush does not get home, this is always a game that the Rams could lose. It's the way they lost to the Eagles, because the way that they have built this team is through investing a lot of resources, a lot of money into your front four to win with 4, and then you play soft zone behind it, because you're expecting everybody to get pressured into bad throws. The problem is, if you're just dialing up quick game all day, you can beat this team. You can beat this Rams team because their second and third level defenders are not good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think their experiment at linebacker is working very well. The combo of Troy Reader, Nate Landman, and Omar Speights have not been good in pass coverage. Their secondary is still there's a lot of guys that are undrafted, late round draft picks. They need to start investing in that area again.
Or a guy like Emmanuel Forbes, who was a first round pick, but was, pretty much a bust. And that's why he became available as well.
Exactly. So like this was always a game that the Rams have the ability to lose if they don't win with 4, if they don't get Jarrett Verse completely unleashed, which Trent Williams had a pretty good day against Verse on Thursday. But I mean, offensively, there's not much you can say except maybe just hold on to the football. Yeah. Maybe again, if Josh McCarty makes the extra point, if he makes a field goal, you win that game anyway. There was a couple of bad bounces in that game, which kind of ruined. Otherwise, was a phenomenal performance by Matthew Stafford. I think the running game actually performed a little bit better until that last play of the game. And on the last play of the game, I know I am team. If you can't move the ball 3 feet, then you don't deserve to win the game. I thought they should have passed it.
Oh my God. I've never thought I would see the day where my friend JP Acosta would say, throw the ball on 4th and 1.
Largely because they only run one thing on 4th down. They can't sneak it. They're always in 11 personnel. So when they condense, you always know it's duo. Fred Warner, or I think Diamond Lenore, said after the game, they knew what play was coming when they lined up. And the entire process of that 4th down, let me walk you back through it. They try and get the Niners to jump off sides.
Yeah.
The Niners call timeout. They come back out of the timeout to try and draw the Niners off sides again. The Rams call timeout. And then you have the 4th down Kyren run.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? I feel like there's got to be a number out there somewhere. Somebody can get it. The success rate for teams that try and get the other team off sides after they've already used a timeout has to be in the negatives.
It's got to be.
You can never. It never works. It never works. I actually thought McVay was going to kick it after the failed trying to get him to jump, but I actually thought it was a good idea for him to go for it.
I agree.
Like the play call, but because the play call didn't work, I fear he is going to live in his fears and never go for it again.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if it'll be that extreme, because I do think that for the most part we're seeing, and I don't know what the direct correlation or if there is one, but guys like McVay, like Kyle, like KOC, like guys who are more forward, offensive-minded coach, I think they do tend to go for it a little bit more. I think it was absolutely the right call. Like, we don't need any more ties. We just saw one on Sunday night. I think he saw the clock and said, all right, if we kick the field goal here, odds are if we do get the ball back, there's not going to be a lot of time left to try to win. So let's just go try to win now. So I appreciate that. But yeah, we're on the same page that the play call wasn't the best, and it did come off very predictable. But now the 49ers 4-1. I see so many people already saying, oh man, was Mac Jones the guy? No, they paid Brock Purdy $257 million more than what they're giving Mac Jones. And they can't get out of that thing for at least like another 2-3 years at the earliest. Brock Purdy's still the guy. Just a solid performance from Mac Jones. And if you look at his passing charts from Next Gen Stats, the thing that you said, the quick game, look at his ADOT. It's not very far downfield. So it's clear that Kyle was attacking those linebackers. And for the Rams defense, it is a way that you can win against the Houston Texans like they did in week 1, where, all right, this offensive line's not very good. You can take advantage of that by only rushing 4. You can limit any sort of downfield plays because you're going to get to CJ Stroud. When you go up against Trent Williams, who's going to shut down Jarrett Verse, at least he's going to have, a good, win percentage when it comes to those reps. Then we see what happens on Thursday. And that's, the back 7 for Los Angeles. I wonder if they do try to target some sort of trade or make some sort of move before the deadline to try to strengthen everything on the back end.
Well, I even think for the Rams, I thought they were actually getting some pretty nice pressure. I thought Byron Young basically had his way with Colton McKivitz for most of the game.
Which isn't weird.
which is not out of the norm. Like, that is a thing that normally happens. Kobe Turner had a good game. Braden Fisk played well. They actually did stop the run really well, which is something that I'm a little concerned about for the 49ers.
McCaffrey had less than 3 yards a carry, so they did that well. Yeah,
57 yards on 22 carries. But pass rush and pressure, if you're going to throw quick game all day, that's how you nullify pass rush. I think Mac Jones had a 2.44 time to throw. He was hitting his back foot, and that's something that Mac Jones can do. In drop back scenarios where he doesn't have to turn his back to the defense, he can get the ball to where it needs to go. Off his back foot, once his cleats are in the ground, that ball is coming out. So if you can do that against a Rams team that doesn't really have the athletes or the coverage guys in the second or third level, you can really frustrate this pass rush.
I agree. We'll move on to the Sunday slate of games, focus on kind of the bigger games to watch. Let's start with Baltimore hosting Houston. We're talking about long injury reports. I feel like almost a third of the Ravens starters are either expected to be out, not practicing, both. Like, just the insane injury bug that has bitten this team. Looks like Lamar wasn't seen at practice today, so it very much looks like he's out for this game with a hamstring, which means Cooper Rush for the Ravens. When we look at that, JP, I'm very, very heavily leaning toward Houston. I know their offense is awful, but without Kyle Hamilton as well, without Roquan Smith, potentially Marlon Humphrey, like, there's just nothing there for Baltimore, especially if Lamar's not going to be suiting up for me to say, yeah, they can still win this, other than, them being at home. But Houston's defense is very good, especially up front. I think Houston wins this game, and then, if they can get Lamar back for the game against the Rams, then, they can still look at their schedule that gets a little bit easier after the bye and say, all right, we can rattle off some wins here if the defense gets better and still make a run for the AFC North title. But for right now, man, this is looks grim in Baltimore.
Not only is Lamar Jackson not practicing today, Kyle Hamilton didn't practice. Roquan Smith didn't practice. Marlon Humphrey didn't practice. Chidobe Awuzie didn't practice. Patrick Ricard didn't practice. Odafe Owe didn't practice. On top of that, Nani Madubuike is out for the season. Broderick Washington is going to be gone until November. Travis Jones has been nursing an injury. Nate Wiggins has been nursing an injury. I just named also. I think we said Kyle Van Noy.
Yeah,
No,
he didn't play against Kansas City. He's also not
Van
going to
Noy
play here.
didn't play. So I just listed off like 5 of the highest paid defenders on the Ravens defense. It's tough to win, especially up front when your best players are out. And I know the Ravens have had a very deep roster, very deep before. They still have a deep and talented roster, but there's only so much you can do up front when you're missing your 3 biggest guys that help you stop the run and your top 3 pass rushers. So I think this game is going to be low scoring. I think this game is going to be kind of a slugfest because I still don't trust anything that the Texans do offensively. I know they scored 26 points against the Titans, but when you go back and you look at that game, and when you watch that game, it's crazy how it looks 26-0 because at the end of the third quarter it was 6-0.
It's so bad, man.
Like, it was not a good game for Houston until they realized that Tennessee is not good at football. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring one. I also think the Texans win because Lamar really covers up a lot of structural issues and a lot of volatility that the Ravens have had offensively this year. And without Lamar, there goes your entire engine.
Yeah. And it's not even just those guys. Like, they came into the season, Isaiah Likely wasn't healthy as well. So it just adds on to the list of issues that they've had. And for Houston, and by the way, for anybody, who's maybe looking to make a wager on this game, if you go over to FanDuel right now, if you take the under 40.5, but you take Houston's over of 20.5, it's plus 552. So we're throwing a little bit of juice on if you're looking to have some action on this game over at FanDuel. Even with the struggles of the Texans offense, which has not been good, I foresee CJ Stroud having, at least somewhat of a productive day just because of all the injuries for Baltimore. And, maybe that's something that even against a depleted Ravens team can get Houston going a little bit. Because when you look at the AFC South standings, Jacksonville, Indianapolis sitting atop of it right now. Tennessee's basically a non-factor, but, you're 2 games behind already in the AFC South. They can get a win here. And if Jacksonville drops their game Monday night to Kansas City, Indianapolis drops another game, then you're right back in the thick of things. But if Houston loses this game, stick a fork in them, man, because you can't lose this game and be expected to be taken seriously.
I would even suggest, even if they win this game, I'm still very hesitant.
I agree.
Knowing that this defense is really good, but they can't protect CJ Stroud, and they haven't been able to generate anything on offense against a team with a pulse defensively, or against a team with any sort of want to win football games. So I'm a little hesitant, even if Houston wins. But in the AFC South, truly anything can happen. So we'll have to see. I do think if Houston wins, there's going to be a little bit more. They'll probably get a little bit of their mojo back. But for the Ravens, this is one you're just gonna have to take. You're gonna have to take this one. See what you can do next week. Maybe if you can get to the bye and have Lamar come back after the bye, which is what I think is going to happen. It's going to be a steep climb, but they still could make the playoffs.
That's my thing too. Like, even if they start 1-5, and look, the odds of making the playoffs, if they do that, are slim to none, but their schedule after the bye, they host Chicago, which, isn't a give me or anything, but a game that they should win if they get some guys back. They go to Miami, a game that they should win. They go to Minnesota, very up in the air team, are the Vikings. They go to Cleveland. They host the Jets. They host a Bengals team that will be without Joe Burrow still. Like, those are all games that you can say, yeah, Baltimore can win that. And if they, go 5-1 in that stretch, and then they're sitting at 6-6, all right. Like, even if you don't win the division, you're still going to be in position to be a wild card team. So season's not over for the Ravens, especially once they get a little bit healthier, once Lamar gets back. But right now, they have to, any sort of toss-up game that they get, once they do get a little bit healthier, they got to have, because of the hole that they're currently in. We'll see how that shapes out. Let's go to our next game here in London, Browns and Vikings. Yeah, we are giving our friends across the pond some not great football. Carson Wentz against Dillon Gabriel. Talk about games that you should bet the under in. I believe it's 35 at FanDuel, the over-under for this game. 2 good defenses in Minnesota and Cleveland. The best defensive player on planet Earth right now, and Myles Garrett on the other side of Carson Wentz, where the Vikings offensive line last week against Pittsburgh gave up a ton of pressure, gave up a lot of sacks. What are your expectations for this game other than some ugly rock fight football?
So the Vikings will be missing their starting left guard, their starting center, their starting right tackle, their backup center, and also JJ McCarthy, and also Andrew Van Ginkel. This game might end 2-0. Leeds plays Tottenham in Tottenham Stadium on Saturday, the day before the game. I think Tottenham might score more points in that game than this game will have on Sunday. And I think the best way to success for the Browns is just going to be trying to hammer Minnesota in the run game.
Yeah.
Minnesota's run defense has not exactly been up to par this year, and that's what you expect when you trade Harrison Phillips and you have a little more undersized defensive tackles, and especially older defensive tackles, and you're missing Andrew Van Ginkel. Blake Cashman has been playing. But I don't know if either team can protect their quarterback well enough to actually generate anything offensively. They're going to have to get big plays from their run game, which I think both teams are capable of. But because the Vikings are missing so many guys, it's going to be a steep climb for them. And because the Browns are the Browns, like it's going to be a steep climb for them to generate success on the ground. So I think if I had to pick anyone in this game, I'm going to go with the Browns because their defense is playing at an incredibly high level right now. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings pull this one out in remember last year when the Vikings beat or not last year, a couple years ago when the Vikings beat the Raiders 3-0?
Oh God, yeah.
I think this is gonna be had to be like a Brian Flores masterclass.
Yeah, that was what Josh Dobbs. Oh no, I think Josh Dobbs got hurt. Who the hell was that? Was it Nate Sudfeld against Aiden O'Connell? It was somebody bad because that was the year that Kurt got hurt.
I think the starting quarterback it was Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins. Damn it, I got the wrong former 49ers backup.
Nick Mullins went 9 of 13 for 83 yards.
Jesus.
Aiden O'Connell went 21 of 32 for 171 yards and a pick. Alexander Madison had 66 yards on 10 carries. Josh Jacobs had 34 yards on 13 carries.
And in that moment, he knew he was going to Green Bay.
Yeah, this was definitely one of the games of all time.
Not good.
Yeah, this is gonna have to be one of those games if Minnesota wants to win.
Yeah, so right now the over-under is set at 35.5. If you want to go alt under, if you think it's going to be a super duper low scoring game, let's see some fun plays that we can find here. So if you want to go, under 24.5 points is plus 470. Under 23.5 is plus 520. Yeah. So maybe worth throwing something on for a 5-1 ticket if you think it's going to be a 13-10 game. Under 23.5. Maybe that's something that I'll compulsively look at all weekend before I inevitably make the play. Let's go to Battle of Throwbacks. By the way, if you look in the background here, we got it right there behind me, right there. The nice throwback helmets, Buccaneers and Seahawks. This will be a fun game. Tampa Bay doing, I think, what most people expected, coming out pretty hot. If not for a Baker Mayfield end zone interception against Philadelphia, maybe they complete that comeback and win that game because their defense played lights out in the second half. For Seattle, they're doing a lot better than I think a lot of people would have projected at this point, especially after what the offense looked like in week one. They're finding answers in different ways in different weeks. Week 2 against Pittsburgh, Torrey Horton had a touchdown and Cooper Kupp came alive. Last week against Arizona, AJ Barner had a touchdown. JSN is very much the nucleus of the passing game. He didn't have a huge game, though, against Arizona, and they still found ways to get it done. Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker make up a nice little backfield duo, and defensively, they are as sharp as anyone in the league right now. I'm going... maybe it's just the pessimist in me. I still have a heart. I didn't come into the season with high expectations for Seattle. They certainly surpassed those early on. I think I'm going to lean Tampa Bay this game, but I'm going to, hedge my bets a little bit and say I won't be shocked if Seattle wins, but I will pick Baker Mayfield and the Bucs to rebound in a battle of, former Panthers quarterback room circa 2022.
So I'm going to try and sway you by saying this.
Okay.
Bucky Irving is not playing.
He is not playing. That's a big loss.
Mike Evans is not playing. Jamel Dean and Benjamin Morrison are both not playing. They're going to your 2 starting cornerbacks opposite Zion McCollum.
All right, maybe you've swayed me, actually. That didn't take long.
Again, Elijah Cansey, out. Luke Gedeke, out. Cody Mock, out. Again, you're down your right side of your offensive line. Your 2 most explosive receiving options and offensive options in Evans and Bucky Irving, and you're missing almost everybody on defense. Not to mention that the Bucs lead the NFL in total yards given up when targeting their linebackers. Their linebackers have not been good in coverage. They've not been good over the middle of the field, and that is exactly where Seattle wants to go.
Yeah,
I would pick Seattle in this game largely because I think they're going to poke holes in a Tampa Bay defense that is really sort of missing some of that bite, especially with Elijah Cansey out. They can't really rush the passer with 4. And like I said, their linebacker core has not been very good defending the pass. And then without Bucky Irving, I just wonder how they're going to continue to generate explosives, even with Baker Mayfield also less than 100%. So
yeah, dealing with a bicep. He's dealing with multiple
bicep and a knee.
Yeah,
it's a very odd combination of injuries.
Right.
I don't know how you come up with that, but I think that the Seahawks are healthier. They're getting healthy at the right time compared to the Bucs, who are sort of falling apart at the wrong time.
I think you might have. This is why you need a friend like JP Acosta, everybody. You might have swayed me in the right direction. In your opinion, what's been the secret sauce for Clint Kubiak and Sam Darnold thus far?
So even when he was in New Orleans, Clint Kubiak was very good at getting explosives out of heavy personnel. They love to live in 21-12. They want to condense the formation. They want you to get into your base defense. The threat of the run and the threat of all the big guys on the field, you're like, oh, we can't stay in nickel against this team because they will run it down our throats. And then combine that with Sam Darnold's willingness to attack the middle of the field and willingness to throw the ball downfield. That is what's really making this offense go. They want to generate explosives through the passing game because they have all your linebackers on the field and they just poke holes at them. It's how they want to isolate matchups. They want you to get big and then they will throw the ball over your head.
And so far, that's been working very well, as we pointed out at the top of this game. It's interesting too because Seattle, if they win this game, they're 4-1. They're tied with, well, I guess 49ers would hold the tiebreaker because they beat them week 1. But the NFC West, I mean, it's hard to make an argument that it's not the best division right now in football when you look at San Francisco being 4-1, the potential of Seattle being 4-1. The Rams were 3-2, but could be 5-0. The Cardinals, I don't believe in Arizona whatsoever, but they're 2-2 and gave Seattle a little bit of a fight at the end of last week on Thursday night. So they're not a nothing team, but not a team that I really take seriously as a playoff contender right now. But still, 4 deep in the NFC West, like all 4 teams, you can't just take lightly.
Yeah, they are the deepest division in the NFL. Not only is it they have talent, but they're all, for the most part, very well coached. And they know what their identity is outside of Arizona, who's still trying to figure that out. But in Arizona's defense, they're trying to get all their players back on defense. They've been missing Will Johnson. They've missed a lot of their other starters defensively.
I think Walter Nolan came into the year hurt as well.
Yeah, Walter Nolan came to the year hurt. I think Will Hernandez still might be on IR, and that's their starting right guard. So once they get healthy, I think they'll look a little better. But yeah, the NFC West currently, I think, has the deepest division in football.
I love it. All right, let's go talk about the AFC West. Denver heading to Philadelphia. The Eagles, I've said this on several podcasts, TV, whatever it is, they feel very like 2024 Chiefsy right now, where like they're winning a bunch of like weird close games that they had every opportunity to lose. Down 19 to the Rams, and the Rams just fall apart defensively and special teams wise. Even when like the game against the Rams, very similar to how the Chiefs beat the Broncos at home last year. It was just an ugly game. They block a field goal at the gun and hold on to win. The Eagles are 4-0, but I'm certainly not sitting here like confident in everything that they're doing offensively. They're a middle of the pack team DVOA wise. This is just a team that defensively they're getting the job done. Offensively, the passing game has been largely non-existent. And like a 4-0 team that I'm certainly taking seriously because they're the reigning Super Bowl champions, but not one that I look at like this current iteration and saying, oh man, this is, a really unbeatable Eagles team. What say you?
So The Eagles, I think you're correct when you say 2024 Chiefs of winning within the margins. Their margins are they have the best defense in football, and they always know that if they get into third and short and fourth and short, they're going to get it.
Yeah.
Like they can win in those short yardage situations. They always are going to win in the red zone and maximize their red zone opportunities because nobody can defend them in the red zone. Their issue, I think, is threefold. And the first one starts with their offensive line isn't healthy. Landon Dickerson clearly is not 100%. He's still dealing with a knee injury, dealing with a back injury. I am surprised that he is still like walking around right now with a knee and back injury. Tyler Steen is not Mekhi Becton when it comes to moving people on the ground in the run game. And then I think that has compounded the fact that they don't have any tight ends on the field outside of Dallas Goedert, who even he is a fine blocker, not a great one. They don't have any tight ends who can block. Stop trying to make Grant Calcaterra a thing. Stop trying to make Kylan Granson a thing. Stop trying to make Cam Latu a thing. None of those guys can block well enough for them to want to be in 12 personnel and grind teams down in the run game like they did last year. Because now, without Jack Stoll, who was their blocker at tight end, they cannot seal off edges. They can't sustain blocks. And that's stopping all those explosives to being just regular gains. And then that sort of compounds into the passing game where you don't use Jalen Hurts as a runner. So you're always facing defenses in too high because your advantage was always Jalen Hurts' run threat. That was the person you had to move somebody into the box for to account for the +1 as a runner. Now that Jalen Hurts is not doing a lot of design runs, you're constantly seeing too high and they can't get anything going over the middle of the field consistently. Their best passing offense is A.J. Brown go route, A.J. Brown stop route, and just him boxing out smaller defenders. But like we saw against Tampa, when you have a bigger guy on him who can really jump those lanes, it's not going to look pretty. And I think the Broncos are going to provide them a really big test because the Broncos have the defensive backs to really hold up against this Eagles passing offense. I think Pat Surtain, obviously, best corner of football. Riley Moss was really impressive against T. Higgins. They kept throwing at him, and he kept answering the bell. And then their defense is just real mean. They really like to muck stuff up, especially in the run game. But like you said, I think the Eagles win this game largely because I don't know which Bo Nix we're going to get. Bo Nix, if he is hitting passes downfield like he was against the Bengals, or basically it was routes on air because it's the Bengals, they have a good chance at winning this game. But the problem is Bo Nix is never consistent throwing the ball downfield. And it starts with his footwork. He throws every pass like it's an off-platform pass.
Runs up in the pocket a lot and doesn't stop running on those downfield throws.
It's like he's trying to jump past everything. And it's just like, why don't you just get all your cleats in the ground? Why don't you just be normal?
That was a very visible issue against the Chargers because he had Marvin Mims not once but twice against the Chargers, and both times, just put a little bit too much dip on the chip and overthrew him, and that very well could have cost them a win there. So that has been a noticeable issue throughout the first month of the season with him.
Yeah, Sean Payton is designing a lot of explosives downfield. Yeah. Bo Nix's footwork is just holding them back. And you saw when against the Bengals, when all of his cleats are in the ground, I don't think arm strength is the problem. I think his footwork saps his arm strength. Because if you don't throw from a good base, that ball is going to be underthrown. You're not going to be accurate with it. And he always turns every pass into a jump pass like he's scrambling. So maybe in this game, you maximize him by just rolling out the pocket. Just give him all bootlegs until he feels comfortable. And another big thing that I really wonder if Sean Payton's going to do, the Eagles have played a lot more man coverage this year because they have the guys to. They have the dudes outside of Adoree Jackson, Ja'Cory Bennett. But where they really, really dominate teams is if teams want to get big against them, because that means they can move Cooper DeJean to outside corner, take Adoree Jackson off the field, and you can still get into multiple personnel groupings and formational groupings against bigger personnel. The Broncos want to get into big personnel and run the ball because they don't have receivers outside of Cortland Sutton they actually trust with the ball. So I wonder who blinks first in that push-pull, and who tries to find – if Sean Payton tries to find Adoree Jackson or Ja'Cory Bennett to start the game.
Yeah, and the battle of Vic Fangio against Sean Payton, Vic Fangio's defense against Bo Nix, I do think that is going to end up being what makes me lean towards Philadelphia. And you pointed it out, outside of Cortland Sutton, man, there's not a lot to love about Denver's offense. So I have my setbacks with Philadelphia. I'm still going to pick them to win this game. If it was in Denver, maybe it's a different story, but I would still lean Philadelphia here. And you said that's where you're going as well?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's kind of the big four, the big five games of the weekend. Teams starting their bye weeks this week. So we'll go through, little tidbits on other games. 1 o'clock window, Giants Saints. New Orleans is favored in this game. That surprised me a lot. They're 1.5 favorites. I understand they're the home team. But the Giants coming off a big win against the Chargers, defensively getting a lot of pressure on Justin Herbert, albeit, the Chargers offensive line is starting you and I at each tackle position right now due to injuries. But yeah, it's very clear that Brian Dable loves him some Jackson Dart. And I think going up against a much lesser opponent in New Orleans, I would lean Giants here. I'm surprised. Maybe Vegas knows something that we don't. I know that the Saints played Buffalo well and Spencer Rattler hasn't turned the ball over a ton, but Giants defense against Saints offense, like I know who I'm taking in that battle.
Well, if I were to try and sway you onto the side of the Saints, Malik Neighbors is not going to be playing.
Yeah,
they will not have any
sort of explosiveness at receiver
passing game. On top of that, the New York Giants are the worst run defense in the NFL by EPA per play. Uh-oh. They are terrible at defending the run. And it's largely because they have 3 edge defenders who all win with speed, who can't set the edge.
Yeah.
So what they end up doing is they have to play Abdul Carter or Brian Burns off the ball to get all 3 guys on the field. But the problem is neither of those guys are as good at off-ball linebacker as they are at edge. So now you're just trying to square peg, round hole this entire thing. So
I think Abdul Carter's probably your best bet if you want to put anybody off ball.
Well, last week they rotated he and Brian Burns off ball, on ball, or on the line. So we'll see what happens there. But again, Trevor Penning's probably not going to play in this game. But I think the path to success for the Saints is just running the ball and then forcing this team to play from behind, which is something Jackson Dart hasn't really had to do because they were able to get pressure on Justin Herbert and they were able to run the ball effectively, which I think is going to be a lot more difficult. Or they weren't able to run the ball effectively. They were able to play with a lead and kind of just sit on the ball. And now teams have film out on Dart. I wonder what the Saints' defensive game plan is going to be to help them stop the run.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to the Dolphins and the Panthers and the who could possibly give a shit bowl. Miami coming off a win against the Jets. Tyreek Hill obviously done for the year and potentially maybe ever with that gruesome knee injury. Carolina. It's a shame that they can't play the Falcons every week or else they might be one of the greatest teams of all time. There's who's calling this game because they need a raise. B, if you're not a fan of the Dolphins or Panthers, I don't know why you would have this game on. And C, if you gamble on this game, call the hotline. Panthers are Dolphins are 1.5 favorites in Carolina. Panthers, I guess that's my analysis of this game. You're going to go Miami.
I'm going Miami. Chuba Hubbard is not playing.
There
goes your entire. There goes the run game. And then the Panthers defense, I know I just said the Giants by every metric were the worst run defense in the NFL. The Panthers, by watching them play, are the worst run defense in the NFL. They really struggle at the second level with their eyes and eye discipline. And that is something you don't want to struggle with going against Mike McDaniel.
Right.
So I feel like this is just going to be a game where he puts both linebackers, Christian Roseboom, Trevin Wallace, in a blender. And you get a lot of explosives because Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins offense, when it's hitting, you really cannot keep up with it. And they've quietly been a pretty good team running the football. It's just been they can't throw it. And now they have Darren Waller, which surprisingly is going to help tie their offense together. So I think Miami runs away with this one.
Darren Waller in the big year 2025, sure. Who is it's pissing me off right now. Who is the Panthers backup? It's like a longer name. Rico Dowdle. Okay, I'm thinking
Rico Dowdle and Trevor Etienne.
Trevor Etienne. There was another guy there in the preseason because the Steelers played against them who had it's not, for some reason, the name coming to my head is Devin Aromashadu. It's not him. He was a Bears receiver in like 2011, but it was a fellow with a longer name.
Let me see.
And it's really bothering me that I can't think of who it is. It might have been Trevor Etienne, but I'm pretty sure it was somebody else.
There's Rico Dowdle. Yeah, the only 3 running backs they have on their, or there's DJ Dallas, Rico Dowdle, Trevor Etienne, Chuba Hubbard are their only running backs on the active roster.
Must be somebody on the practice
And then
squad.
Jonathan Brooks is on physically unable to perform.
Okay.
And then that's it.
I'm literally going to pull up the Steelers preseason game against the Panthers just so I can see this fella. It might have been Trevor Etienne, but I'm pretty sure it was somebody else. Raheem Blackshear. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Panthers lifer.
Yes, very much so. All right, let's keep going down the slate. Colts hosting the Raiders. The Colts are 6.5-point favorites. And as we are speaking, Geno Smith just threw another interception. What do you make of the Raiders' struggles offensively so far this year?
Part of it is because they cannot block, so they cannot run the ball pretty effectively. Although
Ashton Jeanty's had a really big game.
Yeah, Ashton Jeanty's coming off a really big game. And if they were going to try and get the run game going, very quietly, the Colts have not been super great defending the run.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have great defensive tackles, but because they just lack some of the juice on the edge, they haven't been really good at defending the run. They also cannot get pass rush from anybody not named DeForest Buckner or Leatu Latu.
Yeah.
So this feels like a game, especially with Kenny Moore not playing again. It feels like this should be the game where the Raiders get their passing game back on track. I think if you get a healthy Brock Bowers, that helps kind of tie everything together. That's really been the biggest issue for them. Brock Bowers got hurt, and all of a sudden, everybody becomes more important. It's like that basketball team where, what's the best example of it? The star player gets hurt, and then everybody else has to move up in a role and in efficiency, and they have to take more shots. And you realize why those guys don't take as many shots as they do. So
it's like when Klay Thompson left the Warriors and they're trying to fit a bunch of other guys up into maybe that number 2 role.
Yeah, like if Steph got hurt for the Warriors, everybody moves up in a role, and you realize why everybody else is such a specialist. This is before they got Jimmy Butler, but the Raiders need to get something going in the passing game. They need Brock Bowers healthy. That has probably been their biggest issue because they can't really get some of the intermediate stuff they want to going if Brock Bowers is not healthy. I do think they should probably play Jack Besh more, but I think the biggest thing is combining the lack of a run game with Brock being hurt and Geno Smith just losing some zip on the ball. He's 34. Like, this happens to everybody not named Matthew Stafford or Tom Brady. So once you get old, you lose a little bit of zip. So he's lost a little bit of fire on his passes, and I think that's really been the margin because the margins are so small. If you can't fit those passes into tight windows, those big completions turn into interceptions.
Yeah, that's completely fair assessment of the Raiders. And when you look at the Colts, Jonathan Taylor quietly having a very good year, coming off a really big performance against was it Tennessee? No, that was 2 weeks ago. Played against the Rams last week. If not for an A.D. Mitchell, bumble at the goal line, that's potentially a game winner right there. Even though they didn't win that game, the fact that they were one accidental drop away from potentially starting 4-0, I think the Colts have certainly won me over in terms of, all right, they're not like a Super Bowl threat, but a team that should be taken seriously, winning that division. Daniel Jones is playing very well under Shane Steichen. You look at like their weapons, man, like quietly pretty good collection. I know Alec Pierce is hurt right now, but when you have Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, would like to still see them feed A.D. Mitchell a little bit more. They drafted him for a reason in hopes that he could be something in that offense. Offensive line-wise, they've been pretty solid. Like, there's an offense that, was very much just a competent quarterback away from, being what we're seeing now. And credit to Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen for it. 6.5-point favorites, though. Do you think that do you think they win? And if they do you think they cover?
I think they win. I'm not sure if they cover. And I think if they do cover, it's going to be real slim because I think not having as many weapons in the secondary. Xavier Howard retired.
Very abruptly, just like Xavier Howard be like, I'm good.
Look, man, he gave up 100 and something yards to Puka Nacua last week. I understand.
Yeah.
I think this game is close because both teams will be able to score a lot of points against the bigger weaknesses of each team's defense. But I do think the Colts end up coming away with a win.
All right. This one, I've bet very heavily on Dallas so far this year. The Cowboys only being 2.5-point favorites against the Jets. I feel like, yes, the Cowboys defense hasn't been very good, but what the Jets do well doesn't necessarily attack what the Cowboys do horribly on defense, which is they give up a ton of big plays over the top. And the Jets aren't necessarily known for a downfield passing attack right now. It's very much let's play the run game. They had almost 200 yards against Miami on the ground very quietly, and own time of possession rather than be a bombs away type team with Justin Fields playing deep games of catch with Garrett Wilson. So I think while the Cowboys have issues on defense, I don't think what the Jets are going to try to do will play into their own hands. I think that Dallas will be able to take advantage of the shortcomings of the Jets offense.
I also think the Jets defensive issues line up perfectly with what the Cowboys want to do. The Jets are 30th in EPA per pass this year. They have not been able to stop offenses from generating explosives against them. I think a large part of it is because although Aaron Glenn is the head coach, he is not calling the defense. Steve Wilks is calling the defense, and they've tried to play cover one, and they just can't. They can't play cover one on third downs, largely because you throw at anyone not named Sauce Gardner, and you'll be successful. They haven't been able to get what they wanted from their pass rush yet this season. And against a team like Dallas, who, although they might be missing Tyler Guyton and Tyler Smith in this game, Dak Prescott's playing at such an unbelievable level. Like, he is playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this year. He has been so good, and I think they're going to try and find ways to get George Pickens open against non-Sauce Gardner targets. So I think Dallas runs away with this one because I think the Jets just can't score enough to keep up with them.
Absolutely. And, I'm glad that you brought up Dak because certain raw box score stats won't show it, but even if you go back to week one against Philadelphia, absolutely dealing against an Eagles pass defense. Had a rough game against Chicago, but CeeDee Lamb goes down. That throws a big wrench into things. Had a pass bank off George Pickens' hands and get picked off in that game. And then last week against Green Bay, the Packers take the lead with 59 seconds left. The Cowboys go down the field and score a touchdown in 3 plays to get it right back. So offensively, they are in full swing right now, another 1-2-1. But I think Brian Schottenheimer's done an incredible job with that unit. Defensively, Matt Eberflus's defense has not been very good, obviously, in the past game. We'll see if the Jets can take advantage of that, because weapons-wise, they don't have a ton there outside of Garrett Wilson. So I do think 2.5 feels very low, especially with how they just played Green Bay. And this feels like a game where that they should run away with it. Over-under is 47.5. Maybe that's something worth looking at if the Jets can sustain anything offensively and put up points. Cardinals hosting the Tennessee Titans. 8.5-point favorites are the Cardinals. I understand the Titans are bad. 8.5 for the Cardinals feels huge.
I don't think so.
Oh, goodness.
This Titans team is 2021 Jaguars level of bad. They just aren't well coached, and they don't have the players to maximize not being well coached.
Yeah.
Brian Callahan is actively working against his own team every week. Their offensive line has not been good this season.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money on that unit too.
They spent a lot of money
and a lot of draft picks.
A lot of picks on that unit to still not be very good. And then the defense outside of Jeffrey Simmons has not been good at all. So you're really just hoping for Cam Ward explosive, off-script plays, and Jeffrey Simmons sacking the quarterback in 2 seconds like he did against Houston. The problem is the Cardinals are going to find it out eventually. And I think the way that they use Marvin Harrison Jr. as a slot in the game against Seattle on Thursday is going to help carry that trend over into Sunday. because L'Jarius Sneed has not been very good since
Yeah.
getting to Tennessee. So I think they run away with this one. I just don't think Tennessee is actually – I don't think this is a team that's going to be good for the next couple of years.
Do we think that Brian Callahan gets fired after this game, or is this something that lasts far longer than it has any business lasting?
Well, let's see. I don't think he gets fired after this game.
Okay.
But they play the Raiders, Patriots, Colts, Chargers.
Okay.
And then Texans at home. But the Texans game is November 16th. I think if things really get bad against the Patriots at home, he could get fired after that.
Where's the wins come on this Titan schedule? Because talent-wise, there's not a lot of games you can point to. I don't think they're going to go 0-17, but 1-16 feels like a possibility.
I mean, they play Cleveland week 14.
That could be a Shador Cam Ward game.
They play New Orleans week 17.
Those are your two best bets.
And then depending on how well the Jaguars finish, week 18 they play Jacksonville. And if they've already clinched a playoff spot,
yeah, that could be.
Who's
the Jaguars backup?
I think it actually is Nick Mullins.
Okay, well, two Nick Mullins shouts on this show. Who would have guessed it on the Week 5 preview show? Yeah, I can't see more than 2 wins for this team though. That's in terms of the 17 game schedule. I think the lowest is a 3-14 record. We haven't seen a 2-15 team yet, I don't believe. So that would be a first in the 17 game era. Talked about Bucs, Seahawks, Commanders, and Chargers. Jaden Daniels is back. But the offensive line situation for the Chargers is bad. This is a game riddled with injuries. If both teams were completely healthy, this would absolutely be my game of the week to circle. Jaden Daniels coming back certainly helps it. Justin Herbert playing well certainly helps it. But over the last 2 weeks, he's been pressured on more than 50% of his dropbacks. That's not good. And, skill position wise for the Chargers, we haven't really seen Ladd McConkey do much this season. Keenan Allen's had a little bit of a career resurrection coming back to Los Angeles. But skill position wise for the Commanders, no Terry McLaurin. I believe Deebo Samuel didn't practice and could be
He didn't practice.
So if you're without both Terry McLaurin and Deebo, we're looking at a lot of Luke McCaffrey, and who the hell else do they have at receiver?
Is Noah Brown healthy?
Is Noah Brown still there?
I think so. I think Noah Brown was actually low-key, incredibly reliable for them last year.
I do recall that. Why did I think? I'm thinking Olamide Zaccheaus, who left and went to Chicago.
Yes.
That's the guy I'm thinking that left Washington. So, yeah, I believe Noah Brown's still there.
Okay, let's see. Noah Brown is there. He also did not practice on Wednesday.
Right. All right. So it's Luke McCaffrey and
Zach Ertz.
Who do they have at receiver? Legitimately, I don't know who they have at receiver.
Well, if Deebo and Terry McLaurin do not play,
yeah,
you're looking at, I think, Jalen Lane.
Jesus.
I think he was a day 3 pick out of Virginia Tech. I think you're looking at Luke McCaffrey, like we said.
Yep. You're
looking at a lot of reps for potentially, again, Noah Brown, Chris Moore. They're going to play a lot of 12 and 13.
Yeah.
Because John Bates will probably be healthy.
I mean, at that point, if you do want to go 11, just make Zach Ertz your slot guy and put whoever your number 2 tight end is on the line. That's brutal. I'm going to lean Chargers here just because the Commanders are so depleted injury-wise. I know the Chargers haven't done themselves any favors injury-wise on the offensive line, but defensively, I think I believe in them a lot more than I believe in whatever the hell is going on with Marshawn Lattimore right now as well. So I will take the Chargers. They're 2.5 point favorites. I think I take them to win and cover.
So another thing that has plagued the Commanders this year is they have not been good defending the pass against motion. And the reason they haven't been good defending the pass against motion is it's been like a multi-week issue. Mm-hmm. They start off against the Packers. They travel against motion. They play man. Yeah. Marshawn Lattimore can't hold up. He is running a lot against the younger Packers receivers. Got fried. You play the Falcons. The Falcons motion. This time, instead of traveling, they bump everybody. Problem is, you're bumping a nickel into the tackle box and then Bobby Wagner out of the tackle box. Bobby Wagner's not what he used to be as a pass defender. So all the Falcons did was just hammer Bijan Robinson receptions, and Bobby Wagner couldn't keep up. Honestly, none of the Commanders' second-level receivers could keep up. That spells good things for a potential Amarian Hampton receiving game, spells good things for Ladd McConkey. I think if they can just hammer quick game, run game, they should be fine, especially if Jaden Daniels is less than 100% and you're not having Debo or Terry in the game, and the Chargers do so well against mobile quarterbacks because they have the athletes at the second level to chase them down. They have Derwin James, Deion Henley. I will bet a lot of money on Deion Henley being the spy on Jaden Daniels in this
quickly
game.
becoming one of my favorite players in the league, Deion Henley.
He's amazing.
Very, very fun guy to watch. Incredible
player. Saw him at the Senior Bowl, and he was awesome there. So it's been cool to see him sort of rise because Brandon Staley just chose not to play him. I think the Chargers win, but this could very much be a game where the Commanders just turn up their pass rush and be like, we're just not going to have Frankie Louvu or Bobby Wagner in coverage because they'll blitz all the time.
You brought up the motion statistics, so I'll go further with that. Right now, the Commanders averaging the fourth most passing yards per play on plays that feature motion, and EPA per play wise, they are eighth from the bottom. So what's that, 24th in the league in EPA per play when motion is involved on the opposing offense. So not the best thing for Washington. Bengals hosting the Lions in a game that we talk about coaches that should be moved on from at the end of this year. Zach Taylor, you got to go, bud.
This game is not going to be close.
No.
Well, I won't say that. The only reason this game could be close is because DJ Reed is not playing. And the Lions play a lot of man coverage. So this could end up just being a Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, throw the ball up and just let them go see what happens. But I don't think the Bengals will have enough to score with the Lions, who basically, again, the Bengals made the Broncos look like they were running routes on air. Like everybody was wide open. Everybody was getting great plays. Everybody was putting stuff on their highlight reels. Now you're playing arguably one of the best offenses in the NFL right now, who can really grind you down in the run game and attack you where you're weakest in the passing game. So I really do think the Lions have done a really good job of beating the absolute crap out of bad teams. They show no mercy against bad teams. And this is a game where I also think they show no mercy.
I very much agree. And we can say, all right, maybe they'll just press the Jamar Chase and T. Higgins button. They haven't so far. Jamar Chase is getting pissed on the sidelines because he's not getting enough targets. There's zero reason why, for quarterbacks Jake Browning, you shouldn't just try to at least make things easy and say, all right, quick game, throw it to our best receivers, get the ball out of your hands rather than trying to do too many intricate things. So I don't know, man. It sucks because the league is so much better when Joe Burrow's healthy and the Bengals are fun. But it's also become very evident that he masks so much wrong with that franchise. And Bengals fans are just growing increasingly frustrated. I've said this so many times on this show already and other shows, but when the season does end, you call Joe Brady and you ask him if he wants to get the LSU band back together to become the head coach, because it makes – maybe Ed Orgeron wants to go to the NFL. He wants to coach again. Maybe that's an avenue to explore.
NFL Orgeron?
That would be fun. Can't say that they wouldn't be fun, at least. Like, I don't know what Ed Orgeron in the NFL would look like, but was he fired from LSU or did he retire?
He got fired.
That's so – college and the NFL are so vastly different. A guy won a national championship in 2019. What was he fired, 2021?
I think it was a couple years after that, yes.
They
weren't good. They were not good at all. I think they lost to UCLA.
That's less than good. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Maybe coach, we're going to see so many those Grok pictures of put Ed Orgeron in a Bengals polo all over the timeline sooner than later. The Sunday night game, Drake Maye and the Patriots heading to Buffalo to play the Bills. The Bills are 8.5-point favorites. I am taking New England to cover that. I think the Patriots are awesome. Drake Maye, very quietly, I think fourth in the NFL right now in EPA per play for quarterbacks. My Drake Maye agenda from pre-draft 2024 is looking great. I love everything about him. I'm actually going to be writing a piece about how he's not a rising star. He is just a star, period. And he's really cemented himself. He could have like kind of his breakout performance. I think he's already arrived, but he hasn't had that national game where he's dominated. This is a very big opportunity for him to make a statement in terms of where he is in the quarterback hierarchy, but also for the Patriots to say, hey, like, we're back to being a viable playoff threat. Even if they don't win, if this is a close game and the offense looks great and it takes Buffalo down to the wire, I think New England really makes a statement here. But I'm taking them to cover 8.5. I might take them to win outright. Who knows?
Even quieter than Drake Maye being very good, Josh McDaniels has done some really fun stuff.
Josh McDaniels is such a good offensive coordinator, but anytime you try to, I'm not a Pokemon guy, but anytime you try to turn him from, that second tier to that third tier Pokemon, it never works out, but he's a very elite second tier Pokemon.
And some people just be good with that. Some people should just be fine with just drawing up cool plays. Cliff Kingsbury, great offensive coordinator. I never thought I'd say that. Terrible head coach.
Yeah.
Some guys are just cool with just drawing up cool plays and that being the extent of their job. I do think they've done cool stuff when it comes to gap scheme, a lot of multiple personnel looks. I actually talked about it on Pushing the Pile on Tuesday. I think they have the second highest EPA per play in the league winning 21 personnel, but it's less with a fullback and more they have both running backs on the field. They have any mix of Ramondre Stevenson, Travion Henderson, and Antonio Gibson on the field. And it's been really cool to see Josh McDaniels sort of blend the early like Brady Patriots, like gap scheme, power counter, their traditional passing concepts with the 2020 Cam Newton era Patriots where they're running counter bash, they're doing read option stuff and doing all that with a quarterback who blends the best of both of those. Yeah. So I do think they'll present a unique problem for the Bills because this quarterback is probably going to be the best quarterback the Bills have faced since Lamar.
By far, because week 2 it was Justin Fields. And Mitch Trubisky had more passing yards in that game than Justin Fields did, by the way. Week 3, it would have been, let me go back to my Bills. Tua, yeah, with the Dolphins. And then last week, Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, this will be the best quarterback they've faced since Lamar. And I think that he'll present a unique problem for them in the passing game. I do think the Bills win, though, because the Patriots defense is built to rush the passer. Milton Williams has been worth every dollar. Harold Landry has played really well as a pass rusher. Caleb Von Chison actually being productive.
That must make you furious as a Jaguars fan.
It really does, and all I can do is laugh. The Jaguars can't break me at this point. They have broken me too far before. Caleb Von Chison being a productive NFL player once he left Jacksonville.
Got some good Jaguars representation here in the new backdrop. Mark Brunell figure with the old helmet there. Yeah.
Oh boy, that's the old one. That's a good one right there.
Yeah.
I think they're going to present a unique problem in the passing game, but they are not as good in the run game because they're light. And I think that doesn't match up well with a Bills team that wants to hammer them in the run game.
Sure.
And if Christian Gonzalez is healthy, they have the dudes to play man coverage. So I would expect this game to look a little more similar to the game plan against the Dolphins, where they lean heavily on the run game and then Josh Allen as a distributor instead of fire-breathing dragon Josh Allen. So I think this game will end up being a more ball-control-y game. A little more, we're going to try and hammer him with the run game and see if Drake Maye can play from behind. But I do think it's going to be a very good game.
I think it'll be good. Like I said, I do think the Patriots cover. If I had to make a case against Buffalo, it would be that, let me see. I think Ed Oliver and Matt Milano are both back at practice, which is good. They've missed the last couple games with respective injuries. So it'd be good to have them back for the run defense purposes. Passing game wise, though, like if you can find a rhythm and get enough time to set up intermediate routes and whatnot, like the Bills secondary, there's a lot to be desired there. They're still having old Tre'Davious White as a starter opposite of Christian Benford. Taron Johnson's a good nickel, but they're relying heavily on a lot of rookies, and Dorian Strong might not play this game because he's got an injury. And Dorian Williams as well could be out. So like they have some injuries on that side of the ball, and the Bills defense, man, like consistently is just, they made Spencer Rattler and the Saints look very competent last week, and they have a tendency to play down. And when you're playing a quarterback like Drake Maye, who is better than the quarterbacks they've played thus far, I do worry about what that could look like, even though the Patriots, don't have the best weapons. But Hunter Henry's had a really nice year for them. And, I'll have to look at the splits for the Bills defense against tight ends. But nonetheless, I do think that it's a close game and New England could very well win this. I'm probably, I got a little ahead of myself and said that the Bills are going to lose to the Patriots after they, had a rough outing, even though they won against New Orleans. I might pull back on that a little bit, but I do think this could very well be somewhat of a breakout performance and hey, we've arrived game for New England. Should they, be able to pull it off?
So, quick update for the injuries on the Bills side. Dorian Williams and Dorian Strong are both not playing. They're not practicing today.
There you go.
TJ Sanders isn't practicing, but they'll see about his availability. Spencer Brown, Ed Oliver, and Matt Milano all practicing in a limited capacity.
That's good.
We'll
Spencer Brown especially, because the Saints were able to get pressure off that right side last week, which led to some uncharacteristic plays from Josh where he throws a deep pick, had another pass that he threw directly into the chest of Pete Warner. That looked more of like a miscommunication between he and James Cook, but regardless, the Saints were able to be a little bit more disruptive off that right side without Spencer Brown there. So that'll be a good boost to the Bills' offensive line. I'm looking forward to this game. I think this will be a very fun primetime game, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Drake Maye does in this spot. We'll talk about your Jaguars and the Chiefs. Yeah, let's talk about the Monday night game very quietly. I'm excited for this. Talk about games that could be statement games. If the Jaguars can win against Kansas City at home, get to 4-1. I mean, we're having the conversation. All right, Liam Cohen, what are his Coach of the Year odds? Because that's going to be something that we're going to focus on.
I would argue, in terms of national limelight, this is the biggest game for the Jaguars since 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Because
probably since they played the Chiefs in the divisional round.
Yeah, everything just feels like it's working right now for the Jaguars. Their defense has been incredible. I know people want to point to turnovers. They have 13 turnovers this year, lead the NFL. That can also be a little bit fluky. Even outside of the turnovers, they've been a very good down-to-down defense. And the fact they've been able to get pressure and they've been able to get good play from their free agent signings. Jordan Lewis has been incredible. Eric
awesome.
Murray's been great. Dennis Gardeck was a July signing who has really shaped that defense in a really good way. I do think this Kansas City offense is going to present them a unique challenge. And that is because how do you deal with the threat of Xavier Worthy's speed? And I think that's something that's really going to play a big role. They play a lot of quarter, half, a lot of cover six. I expect a lot of quarters to that side to limit the explosives. But with Xavier Worthy back in the lineup, the Chiefs still also, side note, cannot run the ball. They have not been able to run the ball. They don't get under center to run the ball. It annoys me, but I just think they don't want to be, which is very weird considering their offensive line is athletic enough to do it. But they're going to RPO this game. They're going to try and stretch the Jaguars defense. The biggest thing is, can you not completely take away Xavier Worthy's speed? Can you neutralize it for a bit? Can you get eyes on him and force Mahomes to go to other guys? Because if he does, I do think the Jaguars pass rush can win in this game. Josh Hines-Allen is having an incredible year.
Devin Lloyd's having a great year.
Devin Lloyd is having a legitimate all-pro linebacker year.
Yeah.
Foyo Oluokun's turned back the clock. Trayvon Walker had wrist surgery but should maybe play.
Yeah, what the hell's up with that, by the way? That's very random.
He had wrist surgery, but everybody's like, yeah, he's just day-to-day, which is, again, he might be Wolverine. I hope he plays with the big club on his hand.
That would be sick, like a JPP club.
Yeah, that'd be real badass. So I hope he does it. But offensively, I actually think that this Jaguars team can really pose a lot of problems for the Chiefs defense because they just stretch you. Mm-hmm. They stretch you horizontally. They stretch you with the run game. They haven't really been explosive this year, but I also think it's pointed a lot to Trevor Lawrence's growth as a game manager. He hasn't had to be Superman. When we talked about Trevor Lawrence before, one of the biggest negatives was he always played like he was trying to be Superman.
A lot of hero ball.
Yeah, he's playing a lot of hero ball. Now he doesn't have to. And I think he's growing in his ability to manage the game. On top of that, Kansas City is 28th in EPA per carry defensively. They have not been good stopping the run. They also have not been good against bigger offenses against the run. Jaguars like to run a lot of 21 personnel, like get a lot of multiple tight ends on the field. I think this is going to be a game where if the Jaguars win, they really set up the run game and they force Kansas City to go try and tackle their guys in space. I think there are going to be a lot of opportunities for Brian Thomas Jr. on the outside. I think with a lot of outbreaking routes against this Kansas City secondary.
Will this be the game that Travis Hunter finally scores a touchdown?
I'm curious.
Because I got to tell you,
Lawrence,
JP, I'm holding a little bit of a grudge because I put together like one of those nothing parlays that you don't think is going to hit. You throw 5 to win 1,100. Had Travis Hunter scored a touchdown, I'd be $1,100 richer right now, and I'm really upset about it.
I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. You cannot bet on Travis Hunter in fantasy or sports gambling because you never know what Travis Hunter's game plan is.
Yeah.
They have said since the beginning of the season, he was going to be a situational week by week game plan. So against Kansas City, I could see him being used more on defense because his speed is a legitimate game changer. But against a Kansas City pass defense that gives up a lot of explosives, I could also see him being used on offense. I think this might be the game.
I'm going to set myself up to get hurt. We're going to go back-to-back weeks betting the Travis Hunter anytime touchdown. We're going to do it by itself. I'm not putting it in a parlay because it'll only break my heart again. But by itself, let's see if they actually have that up on FanDuel right now to see what his anytime touchdown prop is. So the Travis Hunter anytime touchdown is plus 290. Could be worth throwing something on. I'm gonna allow myself to be hurt by it.
I'm fine with allowing yourself to be hurt by it. Part of me has emotionally hedged against this Jaguars team being good.
Dude, I completely understand that. I
think they might win this game.
Oh, they're 3-point favorite. Or I'm sorry, they are 3-point dogs at home.
I think they might win this game. They're wearing the throwback jerseys. Big game.
They just wore those a couple to just make them the permanent uniforms, right? Is that going to be maybe next year? Just going back.
I hope so, but they're wearing the throwbacks. It's Monday Night Football. The team has played really well. I believe. I'm gonna stick with it. I believe the Jaguars might win this game.
I want to pick them to win. Part of me is also saying, all right, well, it's the Chiefs. They just won a big game and they're going to get back in full swing. But I would love nothing more if they're sitting at 2-3 and we're talking about Liam Cohen being, potential coach of the year. I like that you brought up the stuff that they're doing with Trevor Lawrence. So it's apples to oranges comparison, but some similarities with what Joe Brady did for Josh Allen, where you just said, like, look, we know you can put on the cape sometimes, and that's great. We're gonna need you to do that, but in a lot of situations, like, we're going to take a lot of the stuff off your plate. So it's not a week by week thing where we're asking you to do everything. That was the big problem with Jacksonville before. They were 8-3 in 2023, and then Trevor just gets beat to hell and they still need him to do everything. You just physically can't. And that's why they fell apart down the stretch. Last year, everybody was just checked out by like week 3. So it was, one of those things where it's like, all right, Doug doesn't care. Neither does anybody else in that locker room. So the season's pretty much lost. But Travis Etienne having a career resurgence, and the success in the running game has been very fun to see with Jacksonville to be able to help out Trevor. Very much looking forward to this Monday night game. It'll be very good. And that is week 5 preview. JP, what do you got coming on CBS for everybody to check out?
So you can always find me on Pushing the Pile podcast I have with Kyle Law and Mike Renner. Talk a lot about football, very smart football takes. You can find my latest work at CBS Sports highlighting the biggest schematic trends we've seen in the NFL to start this season. And I'm actually going to be on CBS Sports HQ at the top of the hour. So make sure to come tap in, see what I'm talking about.
I love it. All right, buddy. Again, very happy for you. Very excited to see other things that you're doing. Everybody, if you're watching this on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're listening as a podcast, leave a review, leave a comment, do all that fun stuff, and follow along. We will be back after week 5 to recap everything that took place. And I look forward to talking to all of you then. Have a great weekend. We'll talk soon. It's the Pump Fake.